Hello, everyone. Today I have 5 minutes with Jimmy Smith, and I wanted to ask his opinion about how to do Q4 right. So, Jimmy Smith, welcome to our show today. Are you ready?
Samuel, I'm ready. I'm really excited to be on here with you. Thank you for bringing me on.
First question: what are the common mistakes that people make during Q4?
Well, there are many different mistakes that happen during Q4. And since I've been selling since December of 2015, I've made plenty of them myself. But some of the common mistakes that I see are usually trying to buy based off of the trends that they expect are going to happen versus going off of data and utilizing software like Keepa and making the data-driven decisions. I think sometimes people get into Q4 and they just try to maximize the opportunity as much as they can, but you can make a lot of bad buys whenever you're doing it, not following the data and the history of those products. Additionally, I will actually throw this out as not as much of a selling mistake, but more of a personal mistake that you can go through Q4 and not spend any time with your family because you're working all the time. So make sure to schedule in a few days with the holidays to spend with your family. And then the last one actually that just came to my mind while I was talking was a lot of sellers towards the end of December will stop doing anything at all. So while it's important to spend time with family, it is also important to keep sending some products in during the last few weeks of December because January sales are going to be affected by those last few weeks of December. And to me, January is a huge piece of the Q4 selling season. So those would be the three mistakes that I see.
And what repricing strategies would you recommend for Q4?
I would say for repricing strategies, I recommend that you want to be aggressive during the last few weeks, or I guess the first few weeks in December, because there are going to be a lot of sellers and a lot of new products coming onto the marketplace. I know a lot of people, especially in my community, doing arbitrage, do Black Friday and Cyber Monday type deals, and you try to get in early with Amazon and you want to be more aggressive with the buy box. However, there may be certain products that if you look at the pricing history from prior years that you see it used to be really low, and then during the last 2 weeks that there's a bump in the pricing because people are selling out. In those particular cases, I recommend being a little bit more passive on the getting the buy box and trying to maximize the profitability during those last few weeks in December because of the prior year's sales history based off of Keepa. So it really kind of depends on the products that you're selling and what you're sending in. But ultimately, the more aggressive you can be on products that you need to move, that's totally fine. And then if there are products that have a high likelihood of higher profits, then I'd like to be a little bit less aggressive on maximizing the buy box and more aggressive on maximizing profits for those.
Now, talking about pricing and things like that, like how do you set your min and max prices during Q4?
That actually doesn't change too much for me. My min and max prices, if you are really selling something that's much more seasonal, maybe look at the higher prices that product sold the year or two prior. You don't want to undersell a product if you can sell it for a little bit more. But for my minimums, I typically have them automatically set at a 30% return on investment as the starting minimum. And then I'm willing to go down on that based off of the conditional formatting that we have set up. So over a certain amount of inventory days or days in inventory, the ROI for my minimums will drop. That way it can be more competitive if needed.
Could you give us three strategies for first-time sellers in Q4?
Yeah, I guess three strategies for first time sellers. I would personally, I recommend focusing on just regular products and getting good at sourcing on Amazon in general. So learning how to do the manual sourcing methods of typing in those products on the Amazon search bar and pulling back good results versus scanning UPC codes, which a lot of other people might teach. While that can work, you're going to have a lot more saturation that way. So I recommend learning the slow methods that are ultimately the steady ones. So that would be the first one for new sellers. The second thing is to maximize, if you're willing to do fulfilled by merchant, maximize those last couple weeks in December where prices get really weird and you can get a lot more profitability from that selling season. And then the third one is to, I would recommend relying on the data as much as possible versus on your gut or versus on what other people are saying is going to be the hot thing that you have to sell this year. I have made more bad decisions in my business because somebody else said this is going to be the thing that you need to buy, and I've bought it and I get stuck with those products 90% of the time, versus whenever I use the data that I have utilizing Keepa or other methods to make sure that a product has a good selling history that I can send in confidently during Amazon or during Q4 on Amazon.
Where can we find you, Jimmy, for more information?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, askjimmysmith.com, or my YouTube channel at Ask Jimmy Smith. So yeah, happy to answer any questions that anybody has. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm making YouTube videos all the time. So if you want to follow along for my free content, that would be the place to do it.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's always been a pleasure.
Thank you, Samuel. I really appreciate it as well. You have a good one.